Hey Nate, we got Mike Demota, Director of Living Collections here at the National Tropical Botanical Garden. Mike, Nate and I are out on a walk through your native section today. Wondering if you would go with us and maybe show us a few things.
Sure, let's go this way.
Right on. So Mike, here we are in the upper native section of the McBryde Garden. And this is an area that we feature on our self-guided tour of McBryde and our guided tour of McBryde for our guests. What can you tell us about the significance of the plantings here?
The native section here is where we house all of our collections as they come in from the field. Our field botanists will do research and survey work on all the islands, primarily on Kauai, but also on the other islands. And over the last several decades, they've brought in a lot of material, common plants, rare plants, and this is the area that when we grow that material out is where we house it. So we kind of look at it as a sort of a botanical Noah's Ark of common and rare and endangered species from Hawaii.
So very important to our conservation efforts.
Very important to our conservation efforts. As I said, it's been a couple of decades since this section has been planted, and so there are some large common trees that are mature, but also rare ones, and it helps to create habitat so we can recreate the microclimates that the rare plants really need to thrive in. This is a tree that in Hawaiian is called Mehamehame. The scientific name is Flugia neobavere, and it's one of the rarest hardwood trees in Hawaii. That's one of the nice things about our native section here is we have a collection of native Hawaiian hardwoods, some of which are extremely rare. Most residents of the islands wouldn't know what this tree was because its population in the wild has been reduced to less than 100 individuals among all the islands.
Wow.
All of our hardwoods have evolved over millions of years without having to deal with many of the insect pests that are common today, twig borers being one. And the giant Mehamehame, having been described by naturalists over a century ago as being the largest hardwood tree in the Hawaiian forest, you cannot find giant trees anymore, and if you do, they're dead. They've been dead for a long time. So this particular tree in our collection is one of the better looking ones, but they are hammered by all the insects. If there's an insect that's going to chew, bite, drill in, or do anything to a plant, they will all be attracted to this plant. And there is a rose beetle on the bottom of this leaf even now.
Oh wow, look at this.
And so that's the cause of the holes in the leaves. And these guys will continually return to this plant every night till all these leaves are eaten. We have a lot of other rare hardwoods that are doing very well and are the only living examples of some of the species in anybody's collections.
Awesome.
This is Hibiscus brackenridgei. It's our state flower. It's found on all the islands. Most people look at the leaves and wouldn't guess this is to be a hibiscus because it's not typical of cultivated hibiscus, the big hybrid varieties that we're all familiar with. This flower blooms in the afternoon and stays open all night, where most cultivated hibiscus open in the morning. So this has evolved probably to moth pollination. It has become very rare in the wild. It was actually believed extinct on Oahu until it was rediscovered a couple of decades ago. And this particular form is actually from Makua Valley on Oahu. Other members of the hibiscus family include a genus called Coquilla, and all the islands had a species native to them, but they've become very rare or extinct on all the other islands. Here on Kauai, Coquilla kauaiensis is found in our high forests, but pollen of that and macrofossils have been found here in the lowlands as well, so it was once quite common. So this is Bergamia insignis, what the Hawaiian name is Lula, and this plant is kind of iconic for the garden because years back, the National Geographic Society did a special on Steve Perlman and Ken Wood and their conservation work on this species. Their population of these plants have been pushed all the way back to the steepest parts of the Napali coast. And so they had to rope off and rappel down the cliffs to get to these plants. And then they found that these plants were not producing seed on their own. So they invested a lot of time and started collecting pollen with little paintbrushes and carried the pollen from one plant to the next to cross-pollinate the flowers. And in that way, we were able to get seeds from the plants in the wild. Today, the population has been reduced down to just 2 known individuals in the wild. But because of the work they did at that time, we do have these in cultivation. We can produce them readily in our garden, and we do have them on display all over this garden as well as some of our other gardens here in Hawaii.